guys, how you doing? Towers here. Let's see what I can get into. Got a bit of time before I have to take care of something IRL, so let's see if I can get into a match. See if I can get a party going. If not, I'll just hop in solo. Keep working on my what I call maintenance runs, just to get up cash, contraband. Normally like to stock up on SMGs and ARs. My preferred ARs and SMGs, besides ones that you'll find off of players, really good SMGs and ARs at their base are going to be weapons like the Vaznev, the Vel, the TAC. Hemlock's okay. Pretty good, decent damage per round. Would not recommend ever using the blackout rounds, though. Like this guy had put on some blackout rounds. Just the fire rate is even slower than normal, and the bullet velocity is terrible. So you really will have difficulty hitting a target at even at medium range. Like this is a 5 attachment weapon, but the guy doesn't have a set of optics on here, and the irons are on the Hemlock are usable, but they are not preferable. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Find the Hemlock. Let's take a look at just the base Hemlock. So that side picture is, in my opinion, it's pretty bad. The front post is actually quite small, and you see you have a the front post guards and the rear sight guards. They can confuse you in. Let's say I didn't expect this guy to be here, and I start turning. I notice him in my periphery, and I go to line up a shot on him. That rear sight, you could mistake that for your front sight. You could mistake this ghost ring, the rear sight ghost ring, for your front sight even. You could mistake your front sight, the left front sight guard, for your front sight. And then here's your actual front sight on the guy's neck right now. And then the same thing on the other side. 1, 2, 3 points of mistake. I know that you may say, how can you don't know where your front sight is? It's right in the middle of your screen. But if you're about to die, if you're one shot, you're broken, you got no self-res, you turn, and there's a guy right there, and you're like, oh my god, and you start to shoot down here. You finally hit him up there, and he's not a target dummy, he's a 3-plated guy. Oh my god. Oop, I'm out of ammo. You're dead, you know. Thank God. Thank God he didn't shoot back. He stood still for me. Shooting him in the hand right now, if he had a hand. That front sight guard on the left, I thought you know, this to me, if I'm frazzled, that might look like a front sight picture on in the middle of his chest. But you need to be here for the middle of his chest. But did I just break that guy with 2 shots? The damage on the Hemlock is actually in when you have the 5.56 NATO and not the 300 Blackout, which is never ever recommended. Do not run that. It's not an SMG. You're not doing anything for yourself there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 shots to the chest to break. That's pretty good. 6, 7. 7 to down. A fully plated, assuming that this guy has, 300 HP or fully plated plus base health of 150 HP, which is what I believe a normal enemy operator is going to have. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 shots for a break on the head. So just 1 less than the chest shots. 5, 6 to down. Oh, I figured out that so it's gonna, your insured slots, when you go into the firing range, it's gonna take in, let's say you select this gun here to take into the firing range. The next gun it's going to give you for your secondary is going to be the one to the right. So if you take in, like as I just took in this Hemlock, you saw me pull up an Advancer, and I have a 74U in the 3rd slot here. So you're going to get whatever gun you click on plus the gun to the right in your insured slot. So if you get this gun, if I take in the 74U, it's going to pull up the Hemlock. So let's test that. So I got my 74U, and now I have a Hemlock in my hands. So it's going to cycle left to right. So that will help you as you're training and firing in the firing range, working on your aim, and even you can work on your movement in the firing range. This is a little confined area here, and there are some quirks and features to this area that I can get into more later, but like for example these trash cans, you can actually stand on these things. So when you're moving, and one thing I like to do when I start warming up before I hop into a match is I try to spend some time in the firing range to primarily to work on my aim, my tracking, and also practicing your movement. So the very first thing I'll do before I start shooting these guys, we'll spawn in here, you'll have your weapon out, and most guys probably just get right into just aim and shoot, aim and shoot, aim and shoot. And you know, that's okay if you just want to work on if that's your intention, is just to only work on your aim. But there's so many more skills that you can practice in the firing range, that I imagine the average person is just not taking advantage of. Like right here, I'm actually just tracing the center line of this slightly recessed ceiling area, and what that's going to do is that's going to help me to, and the idea here is to do this as fast as you can accurately. You do this ADS as well. This is something I do when I spawn in a coach. There's usually 3 overhead air vents that I'll cycle between, trying to work on my aim just to keep my actions per minute up while I'm idle, while I'm trapped in the loading animation. So if I try to trace this center line as fast as I can, but as accurately as I can, one day I'm going to be able to just laser beam this thing like a robot. And if I keep doing this, and what that will do is that'll translate into in-game aim. And this is probably the most difficult type of aiming. What your preferred, what you want to do, what's easiest is to track somebody on the same level that you're on. Sorry, I'm getting somebody was ringing my doorbell. I'll be right back. My apologies, guys. I was not expecting anybody. Um, So you can practice a lot in the firing range, just, you know, beyond your aim, beyond just, you know. Let's see if I can replicate a bot here, a bot player. I'm going to turn. I'm going to see. Oh, there's a player in my crosshairs. I'm going to go ADS, and I'm going to just shoot at him. Now I am downing this guy because I've tuned this weapon. I've min-maxed this weapon, so the recoil is actually like straight up and down, almost, or as close as I can get. I mean, that is a pretty good recoil pattern, no matter what weapon you're using. I'm playing on an old, busted PS4 controller with a ton of stick drift, and that's really, really good. That's manageable, very manageable. Again, I'm not doing anything to. Let's see if I can. My thumb off the stick, off of both sticks, and I'm just letting it go. I'm just holding down the fire button, and that's a really good recoil pattern. Let's see if I can. If I'm, say I'm turning from my left to my. He's on my left. My crosshairs are too far to the right. I'm bringing it up here. I panic and I start to ADS only as I'm on him, and as soon as I can sense that I'm somewhere close to him, I start firing. And I don't do anything to mitigate that recoil. I miss the entire, you know, almost the entire mag. He is broken, so he's flesh at the moment. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic. What I wanted to talk about was the ability to practice not just your aim, but also your movement, and your, you know, things like your interactions. So your reload canceling. You know, let's say, this is another reason to bring in two different weapons, or not exactly the same weapon. I'll see if I can show you what I'm talking about here. So let's put in all base hemlocks. And so that I have exactly the same weapon in every one of these slots. So when I load into firing range, I'm not going to be able to actually switch weapons. Like, I may be able to switch weapons, but I won't be able to reload cancel, which is a necessary skill. It's in this game, you have a very limited window of time to actually cancel your reload before you start getting caught in a you know, in a permanent reload. Like, before your player model, before your character you know, will not stop reloading until he's done. So I'm going to load back into firing range. I'm going to try to just, what I'm going to do is just switch weapons, and I can't even, I'm pressing my triangle button furiously, and I can't switch weapons at all. So if I go to cancel a reload here, I can't do it. So I'm going to press my reload button and then immediately cancel it. you can hear me tapping that weapon switch button, and it's not doing anything because I can't actually, pressing triangle, can't actually switch my weapons because I have exactly the same weapon. And this will work the same with you know, a fully built out weapon. Let's go to this one. It works the same. If you have exactly the same weapon in all of your slots, or rather both of your slots, so your whatever slot you pick and the one to the right, it's not going to work. You cannot switch weapons. I'm just going to try to switch weapons here, pressing triangle. Nothing. I don't know if you can hear that, but I cannot switch weapons, and so because of that, I can't actually cancel this reload. I'm forced to. The only way to cancel it would be to tack sprint before he gets the mag disconnected. So as you can see, right before my guy wants to take that mag out, I can cancel the reload by tack sprinting, which is the only other way to cancel your reload, you know, in game, besides weapon swapping. But as soon as I get to the point of he's got the mag out, I'm caught in this reload. So when I stop moving, when I go back to a walking state, he's going to continue that reload until he gets that mag in. So that is important to know, because this gun is now useless. I'm now stuck in a reload. So if you're trying to do advanced movement techniques, if you're trying to get around a corner, if you're running away from a guy, trying to reposition, if you need to shoot, you know, you are SOL because you're stuck in a reload. And that's actually, it's a while ago I was really frustrated by that, but it's actually kind of a very cool feature that's built into the game. It makes the game that much more tactical. This is actually a tactical shooter. Like, this is a I know a lot of people these days consider Call of Duty to be an arcade shooter. You know, which is fair, I guess, but you know, there are levels to games like this. Like, you know, this is not an Arma. It's not Tarkov. It's not Delta Force. It's not Rainbow Six, Siege. It's not Counter-Strike. They're all very different games. And Call of Duty has deservedly a bad reputation for being kind of cringe, like for being like from getting away from its roots. And I think that is a big reason why DMZ was so special for so many people, whether it be returning veterans like myself from the early days of COD, from maybe the glory days, to you know, even Zoomers and TikTokers who maybe played Warzone before, maybe played Fortnite, whatever. They stumbled upon DMZ like everybody else did, and they found something very, very special. And that's because it returned us to this tactical shooter kind of vibe from, you know, the early and mid 2000s when Call of Duty was really in its stride. when it had completely cornered the market and dominated the shooter space, the multiplayer shooter space at least. There weren't really other game modes like there was Call of Duty and there was Battlefield, and they were different games. They were very different games. Battlefield has become more Call of Duty-ish to its own detriment. You know, the new Battlefield game does look promising. I hope it succeeds. Lando has said this. I hope it succeeds to take some wind out of the sails of Call of Duty and force them to reevaluate where they are, because they fumbled the bag so hard by abandoning DMZ. I mean, it is a joke. This game was great. It should have been focused on, finished, monetized to their liking, and people would still be playing DMZ in droves. We would have this. This should have been Call of Duty's flagship game mode, but they keep doing whatever makes them the most money. They have lost sight of the big picture, which is to make great games. They are driven by other incentives like what political commentators would call wokeness. That has really taken over the good game development objective, and and a lot has been sacrificed, and many veteran players have fallen off because of it. I myself, I haven't returned to Call of Duty for the past 20 years because I sensed that, even early on, it was the same. They were making the same game over and over and over again. There was no innovation happening, and DMZ broke that cycle. DMZ broke that mold that crust that had been formed over the past 20 years of this legendary franchise's history, completely tarnished. A tarnished, crusty mold had grown over Call of Duty, and DMZ broke through that. And it's a real shame that what happened to DMZ. It should be looked back upon as a cautionary tale and a blown opportunity, a squandered moment in a struggling franchise's history. And the people responsible for abandoning this game mode should suffer the consequences for it. But really, the only people that are suffering any type of consequences are players like myself, like you, people that cared about this game and found enjoyment from this game. But anyway, so going back into the firing range, you want to use two different, like even if you have like a different, let's see if I can make this work here. So I want to delete the muzzle device, and now I should actually be able to swap weapons and reload cancel because of that. So let's test that theory. And now I can actually switch. So now I can reload cancel. So in order to normally cancel your reload, the most common technique to do that is to swap weapons. That's a full weapon swap. The other way to do that, as I just showed you, is to tac sprint your way out of a reload. But right here, when he takes that mag out, I'm swapping weapons here to cancel the reload. And there is a fine point here. You can and so you have a very small window of time to cancel that reload, and that window closes when your guy takes your magazine completely out of the gun. So as you can see right there, that magazine fully separated. From the receiver, and so there, even with the other, when he brings that other mag to hot swap the mags, but at that point I have to continue that reload until it's done. When he gets that mag out of there, it's game over. You have to finish the reload. So one good thing to do in the firing range is to practice that reload cancel. And so I just, say that guy repeaked, he did something stupid, he turned his back, he fumbled something, he didn't take cover. His buddy over here got scared and ran away when he saw me break his other buddy. So instead of fully reloading here, being caught in the reload, I decided instead to cancel that reload and immediately repeak and put more shots on that guy. Now you can't do that if you have all of your if you have exactly the same weapon in all 3 insured slots. You cannot weapon swap, and because of that, you cannot practice your reload canceling. So just have a slightly different weapon. Like as you saw, like the only difference between these two, these are exactly the same weapon, but one has a muzzle device and the other one doesn't. This one has the Komodo Heavy and the other one doesn't. And the same thing would work if they both had muzzle devices, but they were just different muzzle devices. So they just can't have exactly the same 5 attachments. You may have run into this problem before when you are, let's say you found your favorite weapon type from a guy you just killed, you take it to the workbench, you fix it all up, and you got 4 out of 5 attachments there, and then on the 5th attachment, you get a message that pops up in the center of your screen, says something to the effect of, you can't carry 2 of the exact same weapon, dummy. And you're like, gosh darn it, I wanted to build out, and I'm not going to drop my insured to take this contraband out. I mean, you could, but why would you do that? So in that case, what I do actually is just not put in that 5th weapon attachment. And there is, you should be building out your weapons in match, on using the workbench in priority. So you should, the first thing you always want to do with a contraband weapon, whether it be a bot gun, a ground loot gun, or a dead guy's gun, is you want to immediately put that magazine on there, that large mag. So for an AR, if for whatever reason the guy you killed, or we can guess the reason, maybe he ran out of ammo, the guy you killed is not running a 60 round mag on an AR, and I still see guys do this. they're running like it's a 5 attachment weapon, but it's only like a 30 round mag on an AR, and it's like, buddy, you know, you kind of you know, you didn't get it. You didn't get the memo. Like, so the first thing you want to do is put that magazine on that gun. That just gives you, even if it's a trash build beyond that, at least you have that many more rounds to play with. And by the way, the best, you're really only ever in any scenario, no matter how cracked your aim is, um, you know, for the average player, you're going to you're going to be effectively using only about half the bullets in your magazine. 50% accuracy is actually a really good accurate like ratio. Um, and you may say, what, only half? Like, yeah, that's why you run the 60 round mag. That's why you run the largest mag possible without getting into performance issues or handling issues. Um, if you practice in the firing range a lot, you'll notice you'll have in the top left corner, right up here, there's targets hit 0, accuracy 0.0%. I haven't fired a single shot at these bots yet. That is in the measurement zone. So these 3 bays here, the first bay, the second bay, and the third bay, they all have their own. So I'm going to go to the first bay. Okay, targets hit 1, accuracy 22.22%. I'm going to step out of this first bay, and I'm going to go into this second bay. And if you can see, you know, besides the obvious, the bot's moving, the target dummy's moving on their little rail tracks here. My targets hit and my accuracy counters have reset to 0. So when you start getting more advanced and we start, you know, moving, peeking, doing jump peaks in the target range, when you start drop shotting, when you start practicing your, you know, peeking from under cover to, you know, a jump peek, your targets hit and your accuracy stats are going to get all messed up because each time you go into one of these bays, it's going to reset to 0. So if that's something that you're using to measure your performance, try to just stay within 1 bay. But if you're doing that, you're much more limited in your movement, your ability to practice your movement and develop your movement. Just one note on my movement is I use automatic tack sprint. So as soon as if I'm just edging my movement stick forward a little bit, I'm walking, but if I slam my movement stick forward, I go immediately into a tack sprint. And a lot of the high level players use this because generally it's just better to be faster. You're more mobile. If you are using default settings, you have to click in your movement joystick to begin tack sprinting, and you still have to do this to like get up from a prone crawl or a crouch crawl. You know, that is a way to get yourself up and moving faster, is to actually just, instead of, you know, standing up and then sprinting, you can actually just start tack sprinting to get up and moving. So I use that all the time. If I'm fighting from defilade, if I'm you know, if I've taken cover somewhere to replate, if I'm in a place like Hydro and there are just tier 3 bots everywhere, they're chewing me up, you know, if you go prone, you know, the bot accuracy actually drops a lot. like quite significantly, and if you use smokes, the bots have a harder time shooting you. So if I'm dropped down to prone, I'm replating, and I get full plate up, and I'm ready to move. Instead of standing up and then moving, I'm just immediately on the go. Like as I'm pushing my movement stick forward, I'm pressing L3 with my joystick. I'm pressing this in. I don't know if you can hear it. So I'm just boom. I'm already moving. Another little thing is that when you go from crouch to standing, if you kind of double tap your jump button, you'll pop up a little bit. So this happens when you go from prone as well, and that's probably the most impressive one, is when you're, standing up. You're kind of jumping up into a standing position, and you can't see it too well in first person POV, but your character will pop up a little bit. You'll do a little bit of a whoop jump, and your guy will reset into a standing. So you're visually you're moving a lot more than you are on your screen. Like the other guy is going to see you moving a greater distance, and this might impact your hitbox a little bit. But the firing range is actually a really good tool. You don't, you know, loading into a match is the best way to practice all of your skills at once. But what you want to do to really develop and fine-tune everything to become the best possible player is you want to practice things in isolation. You want to practice your aim, and you want to practice your aim and reloading. You want to practice your movement. You want to develop these skills individually and then throw them together, and kind of knit them together to weave your skills together. So again, the firing range, it doesn't look like much, but there is a lot going on here. You can practice your the very first thing I'll try to do now, I've just started doing this recently, is I will, because I play with aim assist, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply sprint back and forth between these two walls, and I'm going to turn away from the target dummies so that my aim doesn't get messed up by the aim assist locking on. And so if I'm facing this way, I'm going to sprint, turn around to my right, because if I turn to my left, I'm going to the timing is going to kind of be messed up for me, because my crosshairs, when they pass over these, quote, hostile players here, it's the aim is going to be slightly slowed down, and you can see it kind of stick right there. Now it's free, and sticky free, sticky free. So I'm not practicing my aim right now. My my firing accuracy, my weapons handling per se. What I'm practicing here is I'm practicing my my spatial awareness. What I'm doing is I'm sprinting to one side of the room, turning 180 degrees and trying to center my crosshairs exactly in the center of, you know, to a point of my choosing, like say like the middle of this guy right here, these two center block bricks, and I'm gonna pick a similar spot on this wall that is, as from what I can tell, is exactly 180 degrees opposite that other spot. So I think it's going to be this right here. Maybe I'll try to draw a point of reference for myself here. Now, as you can see, at least on PS4, this surface, you know, the bullet, you cannot really discern where the hell you've just shot on this wall. But that's another part of this exercise that actually is working to our advantage. So on this, you know, glass here, that's a very clear texture. You can see what's going on there. A lot of guys like to use the glass as a way to measure their recoil and to then compensate for it. So seeing this recoil pattern moving mostly vertically, mostly perfectly vertically, but just slightly up into the left, that means I'm going to pull in the opposite direction, down and to the right. Down and to the right with my aiming stick to compensate. And I've got, I mean, that's pretty dead on. That's 60 rounds right there. You know. So what I'm doing with this exercise is I'm sprinting, turning around, and then trying to lock in 180 degrees. And I've also started to fire a shot to kind of signify that I'm done with that rep. So that was a bad one because I ran and I overpulled. I finished here, and so I had to bring my crosshair back up to here. That one, as you can see, I overtracked and I had to pull back again. So the same problem, just in reverse. See if I can lock in here and get a perfect one. Nope, I overtracked. Overtracked again. Overtracked again. Overtracked again. That one was a lot better. I think I stopped right about here, a little low, but it was pretty center line. That one I undertracked. I stopped here, and I had to bring my aim to the left after I stopped tracking. I way overtracked there. I intended to aim here, but I got too excited and did not pull myself until I was way over here. So in that situation, if there was a target right here, and I'm already ADS'd way over here, what you do not want to do is to drag your ADS all the way back to here, especially if you have anything close to a default ADS multiplier, which means like when you're ADS, your aiming stick is by default it's going to be slower, and that's I think the intention there is to help you kind of more fine-tune your aim. But Um, I'm using an ADS multiplier of, I'm only losing, let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Of 95%. So I'm only like 5% slower ADS than I would be. Um, let's see what it is default. Oh, 1? Really? So it's the same as your regular. It's interesting. I did not realize that. Um, hmm. Well, anyway, um, so this drill is a good first drill to warm up with because that one was pretty good. It was only like one block over from where I intended to be. Um, this spatial awareness is the foundation, is one of the foundational skills that everything else will be built on top of. See, that was good, but I actually, for whatever reason, as soon as I started at ADS, I overpulled. I should have just stayed right there. Boom. That's pretty good. That was only a couple inches off from where I wanted to be. Overpulled. Let's see if I can lock in here and actually try to get a good couple reps in. So I only got a couple. I got one perfect one that I remember, and I only got a couple okay ones. Most of them were over tracked. Some of them were under tracked. But that, for some reason, when I'm not thinking about it, I can, talking to you guys, I can actually get a slightly better spatial awareness or just sliding into position. But again, you can tack sprint, you can crouch move if you want to, just to get yourself a better idea of peaking angles, exactly how long it's going to take you to get your sights on to your target from a crouch movement. You know, that is important for timing. I'm not a creepy crawler, uh, you know, alien bug. Um, I'm not a stairwell Stanley. I don't. I'm not a camper, as you will call it. I like to. I actually find that the more I'm moving, the better my aim and tracking is, because it's intentional. You know exactly where you are in relation to objects around you. You know exactly how fast you're moving, especially if you're playing with one of your preferred loadouts. You are familiar with the movement speed capabilities of that weapon. Um, you know, and I found that if I am on the move, if I'm in, you know, even if I'm trying to clutch like a 1vX scenario, um, I'm not gonna, you know, very rarely am I going to hole up in a corner like this with my back against a wall and wait for a guy to, you know, push through a doorway or something, hold a doorway, especially with a laser or something. I mean, like, duh, he's gonna see that laser, uh, you know, on that doorway. That's, you know, he's, instead of coming through this doorway here, you know, maybe he finds a way to bust through this door, taking me completely off guard. If that door is a inward swinging door, you know, if the hinges are on this side of the door, that you know the handle's on this side of the door, so the door is gonna either be outward swinging that way, or it's going to be inward swinging this way. You know, if this isn't, if he busts through this door, and actually doors in DMZ work both ways. You can bust them both ways. But so if he busts through this door and I'm holding this door will likely block my entire vision. And so if he busts through here, you know, the play here would be something like bust through and then you know, bust through, rotate, boom, right here. Bust through, rotate, throwing knife, right there. Bust through, run up to you and melee you to death. Bust in, slide, you know, over here while my vision's blocked. So if I'm right here, if the guy chooses to go into the room, come over here, crouch down. If that door swings in this way, if he busts it in this way, I cannot see that guy now. That guy's completely blocked by that door. So you have to think about all of that at every moment. Every single building in DMZ is habitable. You can go inside every building. You can bust through every window. You can open every door. You can peek every door. You can bust through it tack sprinting. You can open the door normally. You know, you have to consider that, all of that. And yes, it is overwhelming, but the more you play the game, the more comfortable you become in these different types of scenarios, the more confident you become over time, the more gunfights you win, the more fun you have. So I'm actually going to call it there, and I'm going to resume later tonight. So I hope to see you guys later. Hope you've learned something. Thanks for hanging out, and I will catch you guys on the next one.